Good afternoon. I'm Christina Rausch, and I would like to welcome you to the May 16th, 2024 Design Review Committee meeting. This is a 9-person committee whose primary function is to perform design review for projects located in one of the city's 3 designated design review areas: downtown, the riverfront, and the new hotel overlay zoning districts. This is a mandatory review voluntary compliance process with one exception for hotels seeking to skip council review. Hotels taking advantage of this incentive must receive a positive recommendation from the committee. All committee members and staff are participating in person. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the committee page. You can also watch the meeting on the city's YouTube channel, either live or recorded. I will now take roll call. Jeremy Goldstein is absent. Catherine Ankaya.
Here.
Stephen Lee Johnson is absent. Thomas McLaughlin.
Here.
Michael McDonough.
Here.
Brian Moffitt.
Here.
Robin Rains.
Here.
Ricardo Sejo.
Here.
We do have a quorum, and the first business item is to approve the minutes from the April 18th, 2024 meeting.
Sorry. I move that we approve the minutes.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
I forgot what words were.
And then the first,
Let's go ahead and continue those 2 items
Okay.
to June 20th.
okay, so we are continuing the formal design review for 179 and 144 Riverside Drive to June 20th. And also the 2 Micah Place, the Thompson at Biltmore Level 2 formal design review will be continued to June 20th.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Or a second?
Oh, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the first item of business is and the only one, is 375 Long Shoals Road, True Hilton.
Good afternoon, committee members. Will Palmquist from Planning and Urban Design, filling in for Clay today. He is celebrating his son's graduation from college, so be perfecting my Clay impression again. So Clay's been doing all the hard work, and I just come up here and present it to you all. So he's put together his presentation for me and a very thorough staff report. So I will be sure to do it justice. So this is a formal design review for a True by Hilton hotel located at 375 Long Shoals Road. It's a level 2 hotel that's being reviewed through the hotel design guideline overlay process that requires your formal approval for it to move forward and bypass review by City Council. There was an informal review at last month's meeting, April 18th, and this afternoon is the formal review. So the site itself is the former site of a 1-story commercial building located at Long Shoals Road, not far from I-26, across from Biltmore Park. It's within the hotel overlay for small and large hotels. The zoning is highway business. It has frontages and entrances along Long Shoals Road. Here you can see the site in a little more detail. The site itself is just under 1 acre. There are 2 existing driveways to the site, and then 2 kind of rear cross parcel access points as well. Some of those are getting reconfigured in the proposed design that I'll discuss here. The site is adjacent to a Waffle House and a gas station and convenience store at the corner with Skyland Inn Drive. So the overall project site plan is shown here. The building is an 80-room hotel with associated uses like dining and rooftop lounge. It's a 6-story building, about 44,000 square feet, and the footprint itself is 7,200 square feet. You can see it's located kind of in the top right corner of the site. The two driveways that exist today will be reconfigured and, I guess, closed, and one new driveway would access the site. The cross-access to the other property to the west will be closed off, but the access to the property to the east will remain open. Proposed are 75 parking spaces with accessible spaces as required, as well as required bicycle parking shown at the front of the building, entryway from the sidewalk from Long Shoals Road. You can see the sidewalks along Long Shoals, and then the pedestrian connection from Long Shoals Road to the building's entrances at both the front and side facades. So other details include a patio on the top floor. There are parking that has reduced aisles and spots for compact cars. Open space in 4 different areas at the surface around the site, on the ground, and then also on the rooftop as well. And as mentioned, the connection to the east is preserved. So landscaping requirements apply. These include a street buffer landscaping, street trees, building impact landscaping, and vehicle use area landscaping as shown. Tree canopy protection is required, and that'll be met partially with payment and fee in lieu. And then screening is provided for the utilities and waste management enclosure in the southeast corner of the site. So as far as the UDO compliance goes, so the underlying zoning for this site is highway business, and then they're in the hotel overlay. So they have kind of 2 different sets of zoning criteria they have to meet. Hotel overlay will control when there's any discrepancies between the 2 zoning. So the project is compliant with the major zoning requirements of both the overlay and the underlying highway business zoning, including location of the building, the height and the massing, the entrances, the fenestration requirements for the ground story and upper stories through the hotel overlay, and are actually in excess of the requirements. A draft public benefits table was included, which is a requirement of the hotel overlay. As far as any discrepancies between the hotel overlay and the proposed design, the project is required for the hotel overlay to provide a 10-foot wide sidewalk with an 8-foot wide planting strip. So that will be a requirement that can be discussed today, but it will be required when the project goes through its final technical review if it moves forward. There will be some kind of design considerations with that sidewalk, which is going to be wider than the existing sidewalk, which I believe is 5 feet along Long Shoals, and a relatively minimal, maybe 3-foot wide planting strip or utility strip. So the sidewalk might kind of flare and be set back a little bit from Long Shoals. It might impact the location of the street trees. That's just something that's going to have to be worked through with the applicant. It's an NC-DOT roadway. They don't typically like street trees in their utility strips, so it might have to be kind of behind the sidewalk. So just to say that this proposed design on the site plan may shift a little bit in regards to having a wider sidewalk than is being shown today.
Will?
Yes.
Before you move on that sidewalk, are forces in place to push the sidewalk farther away from the curb, or just a wider sidewalk?
So both. So currently it's shown as a 3 or 4 foot wide utility strip and then a 5 foot wide sidewalk, I believe. That would push the sidewalk further back with an 8 foot wide utility strip and then a 10 foot wide sidewalk. So it would kind of do both. So the sidewalk will kind of, as it comes through the other property, have to jog back a little bit and then jog up to meet the other sidewalk. It's a UDO requirement, so it doesn't allow much flexibility, and the project has to comply with the UDO in order to use the hotel overlay. So I think there's a design solution that works. That will be a detail to work out, though, going forward.
So everybody's clear that we do want to pull the pedestrians farther away from the curb edge. It's just that the adjacent properties are right on the curb.
Almost right on the curb.
Almost on it.
Yeah.
And we just have a weird jog. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Yep, that's correct. So here are the floor plans for the proposed hotel. You can see the first floor is dining areas and lounge space, back of house uses, offices. That's here in the bottom left. Floors 2 through 5 are shown here, kind of typical guest room layout. And then the top floor 6 here with guest rooms, as well as a fitness area and the rooftop lounge shown here on the right. Okay, so as far as the design guidelines go, so this is actually, this is in the hotel overlay area that's not in the downtown or riverfront district, so it has its own set of guidelines as referenced in the staff report. This might actually be the first hotel we reviewed outside of the downtown or riverfront. So that those guidelines, the hotel design guidelines, control as far as the purview of the design review committee. Staff finds that the project is substantially compliant with those guidelines, including the open space, which is provided on site, and with the patio space. There are some multimodal aspects of the project, such as a bus stop at an adjacent site, as well as bicycle parking provided at the front entrance of the hotel. Parking is provided towards the upper limit allowed by the UDO. Access is a single point driveway reduced from 2. Guest drop-off is at the side and loading's at the rear. The project is compliant with the overlays requirements for height, orientation, placement of buildings and entrances. And then the fenestration exceeds the requirement. The eastern facade is restricted by code due to the distance to the property line. So there's some exception for the amount of fenestration that can be provided on the east elevation. So some other recommendations include the materials and the architecture that we maybe can focus on, or that the staff report focus on a little bit more. Materials note that they should be of high quality and reflect the historic building materials of character-defining structures in the area, and that the architectural designs should be well thought out and adapted to the site, and that prototypical designs should be discouraged. So this is the elevation showing the proposed colors and materials. There is a small discrepancy between the rendering and the elevation. Might ask the applicant to confirm that, where the EX02 gray is shown as the center portion on the elevation, but it's the blue EX05 in the center, which I believe is the correct proposal. As far as the materials go themselves, I can't remember if that's on a future slide or not, but I'll note that it's a combination of EIFS cladding, EIFS high-impact mesh assembly, and then a drivet panel system, as well as aluminum framed windows. Some of the comments presented at the informal review at last month's meeting included the fact that the Highway Business District and location at Long Shoals Road have fewer character-defining buildings, but there are some architectural themes in Biltmore Park that the project could pull from. A consideration to provide more emphasis on the entrances, especially on Long Shoals Road, to engage the pedestrian environment. The consideration for innovative stormwater treatments for the site. A look at the possible connection of architectural expression around the corner from the side of the building. And then just recognizing the dearth of architectural expression in the location, balancing that with the standard prototypical design and branding goals of the project. And to consider carrying the blue element from the side to the front as an example, which is kind of shown better on this slide. So this notes some of the changes that were made from that informal review to this review, in that the kind of canopy area shown in blue is pulled around the corner to front Long Shoals and the parking lot. And that the colors depart from the corporate image with greater contrast shown, a lower dark band, and highlight placement. So staff recommends first to confirm the color location and selection with respect to that discrepancy noted prior. To review those design changes made by the applicant, notes that there should be some consideration given between balancing of the corporate branding of the design and the area's architectural precedents. Following the committee's engagement on these items, staff recommends approval if the members feel that the changes achieve compliance with the hotel design guidelines. So I'm glad to answer questions. We also have the applicants with us today, the architect and civil engineer as well, and would welcome them to present any additional information or answer questions you might have.
Okay, yeah, let's have the applicant approach.
Okay.
Thank you, Will.
You're welcome. Would you like to present any information or just be present for questions? I have drawings up too, if you want to refer to any of the submission drawings. They're just in this folder here as needed, so, yeah.
Thank you, Will. My name is Chris Rollins. I'm representing Cage Civil Engineering and the client BCA Hotels. And I am here to field any questions that may come up with the site design and, to the best of my ability, the landscape architecture. We also have Thomas Lemberg here representing Lemberg Architects to field any questions regarding the architecture of the building. So,
Great.
I have a question.
sure.
So in the rendering, it looks like, and thank you for turning the corner with the ground level lobby. I think it comes closer to meeting the guidelines, and I think it makes it a nicer building. I hope you agree.
Agreed, yeah.
It's unclear in the rendering. It looks like the brow on Long Shoals comes out 3 feet or so, but on the elevation drawings, it doesn't look like it protrudes out from the building. Can you clarify that?
All right, on the, Thomas Lemberg again. On the plans, if we, 2 fingers scroll.
That's the elevation architectural.
All right,
Different sheets.
that's, here we go. And I'd like to, if we can zoom in. Okay.
Yeah, it should. It's a little funky, so it takes a little. Yeah, you go on the screen as well. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little easier.
Maybe that'll help, yeah. Yes, it does. The brow is, comes out closer to the street, and it does, not closer to the drop-off area, and it extends a little bit more from the side outwards. But you can also see that this area, this wall here protrudes out from the building itself. And the brow goes from that point across, and it protrudes out. And then once we get around to the front entrance, there's a deep recess for the doors. So we've provided a recess on both sides for overhang for the guests and for visitors to be able to be sheltered at the doors themselves.
Well, if you scroll down to the next sheet, the elevation sheet, if you keep
The
going.
elevations.
Get the elevations. Yeah, let's see, you see, no, stay there. The front elevation on the left corner, it looks to me like the brow does not extend beyond the Long Shoal side. I mean,
Yeah, there's only, it extends, but it's really just a little bit. And in fact, it looks like it's less than a foot from the face of the wall where the storefront is.
Okay.
I'm not sure from the fascia to the face of the wall of the storefront, it's less than a foot.
It is there at that part of the edge to create the continuation of the brow and bring it all the way over from this corner across and maintain a continuous line.
well, yeah,
if,
that's clear, but it looks like it only hangs like 6 or 8 inches off the building, in which case it's not really a brow, it's just kind of a blue strip.
Okay, good point. I'm not going to argue against that.
Well, it looks good in the rendering. I guess I'm pointing out that it looks like you nailed it in the rendering.
Do we
but
have,
Yeah, if you go, the other,
in the color
'cause
rendering,
usually
it,
Chris is good on that.
Part of it is those lights. Because the lights,
yeah, let's go down to.
the lights,
or maybe,
There we go.
so it gets the impression of more depth, but. Yeah, when we look at
Yeah.
that, we're seeing these lights in there, and those lights would not fit in the space that the drawings are showing.
I mean, when I digest that drawing, it looks. to
Yeah,
me-
he's recessed that wall that I hadn't shown in the plans. So we would need, in order to create more of the rendering, we would need to extend it out another, at least a foot.
So that's your intention, is to get a brow that hangs off the building more than a foot or so?
What I had drawn was, the original intent was just to maintain the brow from the side to the front, providing the overhang at the doors. But we can, if necessary, extend the brow further out and create a little bit more of a feature there, get the lights to shine down. Chris and I will have to work on how we could get that to fit within the site as tight as we are, but it's something that we could work with.
Yeah, to me, that's kind of what you're going for in the rendering, and it just seems like the two-dimensional drawings are not there yet, where the
Okay.
rendering is. So, do we feel good that you're shooting for a 2-foot overhang of some sort? Or 15?
I would appreciate 16 inches, which gives me just enough for the lights. The further we push it out, the further we push the building back on the site. And at
You're
such
allowed-
a small
you're allowed
site.
to, those are allowed to encroach in the setback.
Oh, that'll be allowed to encroach in the setback?
The overhang.
Is that true?
I believe that.
Roof overhangs are. Is that y'all's understanding?
It can,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the leading edge of a roof element isn't where you measured the setback to.
In that case, I could definitely give it a.
2 feet.
Yeah, I could definitely give it 2 feet.
But we would make that contingent on that, that brow being allowed to encroach.
Right, yeah. Yeah, otherwise it could be a shorter width.
I've got a philosophical question in a way. So we haven't done this out of either, the context of downtown or the context of River Arts. Normally those, both downtown and River Arts, have their own material palette that we've been pulling from. The guidelines just say high quality materials. And I know what I thought that meant when we were writing the overlay guidelines, but now we're here. And also, we said something about discouraging, prototype. I don't know if y'all have Googled True Hotel and just pulled up the images.
Well, Clay put a presentation in here too of area. Yeah.
We can pull it up too, it's the next tab over, has an example of some other True by Hilton designs.
Where was
On
it?
the
It was-
top,
Yeah, if you wanna
Yeah.
flip through that at all, our staff person Clay pulled together some other examples of the different designs.
And forgive me, I apologize for pulling you into a broader discussion, but we really are trying to be, apply these standards reasonably. And so, when I look through these, so is that the,
Go to the Chapel Hill one. I think it's the next one. No,
they're all just, yeah.
oops, back.
That one's got some brick
That
at
one's
the
got brick
base.
at the base. And then there was another one, and I think it was the Raleigh one, that had brick that was beige brick.
Mm-hmm. Is that the Raleigh one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, the white part, the part
Yeah.
that's white ephes would be a beige brick in that.
Yeah, so if I understand your material palette correctly, you've got, it's all ephes with, what else was there was another board, right? Or was I misunderstanding the material palette?
On the current submission?
Yes, sir. Drive it, drive it, drive it, drive it, drive it, drive it. right?
Yes.
Yeah, let's try. Or maybe let's go to the presentation notes. This one. This
So,
one.
Yeah.
Is that what we would consider, or is that what the ordinance would consider high-quality materials?
No.
What would we consider high-quality materials?
I would say that based on the applications, that higher quality materials down near the street, like masonry products, even though they're thin, and then it transitions to lower quality materials.
Well, now, that's what we've done fairly consistently downtown. I can't remember if we've done the same thing. I guess we kind of have in River Arts. We haven't reviewed as many in River Arts.
Well, downtown specifically.
It specifically
excludes
requires that.
private from the ground level.
Yes, at the pedestrian level.
Right.
You see where I'm going, you know, we have different set of guidelines for downtown, and we're outside of downtown, and we have kind of, you know, Biltmore Park is the closest thing to a contextual key that we have there on Long Shoals that's not just purely residential or kind of strip suburban, and it's just a big old hunk of Charlanta, so I don't know how much I care about it, but it does have some decent materials. I mean, it's got brick and kind of large format CMU stone-like materials at the base. I'm trying to make sure we're being, we're following our own guidelines.
Well, this one will set a precedent since it's the first one
Yep.
we're doing outside the.
Well, we're not a legislative, judicial body, so we're not stare decisis doesn't apply to us. But that said, we do want to be fair and reasonable and consistent. I'm not convinced that I do not believe that EFS meets the high quality material, especially at the pedestrian level. And I also, I think that you've made some moves. So one, when I look at these other examples, there are very, very few that have two entrances, and there are very, very few that are oriented towards the street the way you've done that. So I think that the applicant is working towards trying to meet the needs of the client while not delivering a prototypical design. I don't know how to say that correctly. So I can grasp that. It's the material on the pedestrian level that if there's a recommendation that we could provide that would remain more or less within what the applicant's showing, I'm all ears. So am I the only one that feels that way, or?
Yeah, I'm distressed by when I see some of the brands that we're getting here that are all drive it. I see them in other locations as having a lot more masonry, and I just kind of wonder why Asheville's not. We're not getting everybody's A game when you show up to Asheville. So I mean, I hadn't looked at those other images, which include more authentic materials. So I would agree with all this, and I'm kind of curious now that we're on this conversation, like how does the hotel decide like how to budget, which is a lot of it's budget related, like how does True or the developer say, all right, strip it down to all drive it, or throw in X amount of masonry? I mean, how's that decision made?
Well, Actually, in the hotel industry, drive it is not persona non grata. It's, that they do utilize predominantly drive it. A lot of times when you see the hotels that have a lot more masonry, they're either very dense downtown locations, or they're it's a local ordinance that
Here we go.
gives like
Yeah, that's kind of where we're going,
brick.
yeah.
Yeah, 50% brick or 100% brick. We've done ones that are located in areas where they give a certain amount of brick as a requirement, or brick or masonry frequently.
And you've worked in those jurisdictions that specifically articulate the material, and then you respond to that?
Yes, sir.
So our guidelines are just a little too vague, and we were trying to say the same thing, but we
and-
didn't
Yeah,
articulate it very well.
it's not well communicated, and our sincere apologies for that, because I know what I meant. So I'm familiar a little bit, not as much as you are, obviously, with the hotel hospitality architectural community, and they would consider the high abuse drive it as a high quality material.
Yes, and a higher quality material than just stucco, because the drive it and the stow EIFS materials, they don't have the cracking issues that just direct applied stucco has.
Right.
And they come with the additional benefits of increased
Insulation.
increased insulation. Having a continuous insulation on the outside of the building is a very helpful thing for the building. You don't have bridges or gaps that allow the outside temperature to bridge to the inside, because you've stopped that with actual insulation throughout.
So my recommendation that would, I think, take care of both the restriction in the guidelines about prototypical design as well as high-quality materials, if that at least at the pedestrian level, on the first floor level, we had what the city of Asheville and this review board has consistently called high-quality materials, which would include brick and or metal panels, or similar.
I agree, and also, I think if you look at Biltmore Park, it's consistent with that, and they do use EIFS at times on the upper levels, but you don't see it.
We would generally discourage, I mean, I could even see like one of the larger format, like a Nichiha panel, the illumination or something like that, even on that level, as opposed to the drive it. So that's my 2 cents.
For this building, I would feel that a standard brick with an airspace would make the most sense.
Agreed.
At the floor level.
Agreed.
If masonry material is what we're looking for.
Agreed. I think that's more in keeping with what context we do have, and I think that would work towards both the prototype that you're showing that you're not just that you're giving a contextual answer, and that you're moving towards the better quality materials at the pedestrian level. So thank you.
I appreciate your openness to that. You haven't said you're gonna do it.
Now,
I can do that.
I do want
I'm open to
to, I do want to make one caveat in that I'm really talking about what is currently the gray and the black EIFS at the ground level. I'm not opposed to the yellow for their entry, because that seems to be, the yellow and the blue at the entry seem to be a big deal, but I don't know if anybody else has I could be talked into it.
I would actually go the opposite way.
You go the brick there?
No, not necessarily brick, but a high quality material there.
Like a metal panel?
Like, right, or like a standing panel or something like that, where you can actually, you know, because it's not just a
Pedestrian
panel,
contact.
it's where you have the contact, yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, if.
I'm just saying I like the yellow. I don't know what it's made out of.
But,
Well-
but it can be high quality, it doesn't have to be EVs, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
If I may speak.
Absolutely.
The yellow and the blue for a true hotel is just, it's something that it pulls in and identifies it. And the brand has allowed me to play with those before, but I get in a lot of trouble.
Oh, I'm not suggesting changing the color.
We're trying to have, we really are trying to help.
So
We're not suggesting changing the
I
color.
and I do have, I have a theoretical, just conceptual aversion to painting brick to begin with.
Agreed.
I don't think that new brick should be installed and then painted over.
No, that's.
It's wrong to me on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
But in order to get the yellow that is there, it's either paint, stucco, or ephes. We could possibly
agree with that.
get metal panels,
You could do it, you could do like a Nichiha, like the illumination, and then just paint it.
just bent metal panels or the like.
Well, the Nichiha is a cement fiber that's on like a rain screen. There.
Okay.
There is the engineered stone panels, like the standing panels, are super thin. One of the companies, and I can't remember which one, actually pulls their colors from Sherwin-Williams. So you could have a really nice, high-quality, you know, stone panel that is the exact color that you need, and it wouldn't be EFIS, and it wouldn't be painted brick, and it wouldn't even be painted, because that's how they fabricate it.
Well, so our recommendation, let me grab us, is to meet the standard of where the guidelines are discouraging prototypical design and encouraging high-quality materials. We would recommend that the applicant utilize masonry consistent with the type of brick used at Biltmore Park, and some type of cement fiber or metal panel or other material for the yellow color branded material at the entrance.
Okay.
I've got one quick question. Can you clarify the blue, that was on the question that was on the report?
The rendering is correct, and the elevation where it switched is incorrect.
Okay, so that blue is coming down from the sky and then turning around.
Right, it is not, it's not supposed to be adjacent to the angled part with the true signage on it.
Gotcha. I was going to suggest at the entrance, because this yellow piece with the blue brow I think it's working really well, and I was going to suggest right at the entrance, bringing the door, since the storefront at the door is independent of the rest of it, actually bringing it to the blue soffit, and then actually considering bringing that blue down, whether all the way around that entrance or just on the inside, but just bringing that blue down to the ground. Because
Did you see the one in the regional slides, the one at Greensboro? That was really good. It's a little opposite of what you just said, but they did the blue and framed it, and then they did the yellow inset. Yeah, go down. That one. So I think in Ricardo's point, you'd be kind of doing the opposite, where everything would, the two bookends would be yellow, but then you'd be taking the blue, you bring that yellow piece out, and it would be the blue down. I don't
That
know.
reminds me a little bit of an IKEA.
Ah,
Is that
Anyway.
a rendering or a photograph?
That's a photograph.
But yeah, however you do it, it's really just marking the entrance because it's, you know, looking at the rendering, it's clear that the entrance is, that this is the front and the entrance to the building, but the actual formal point of entry isn't
I
necessarily
don't mind what
clear.
it's got, honestly.
And I think that, you know, doing something with that blue, kind of bringing it down, you know, could help that.
Okay.
But that's just a suggestion.
I'll just confirm that I was able to confirm that, that roof structure would be able to encroach 3 feet into the setback.
There you go.
Oh, 3 feet. Into the What was the actual recommendation, Michael? You wanted at least 2 feet?
Yeah, at least 2 foot.
Okay, at least 2 feet past the, face of the
Extend
wall,
2 foot either from the wall above or the wall below.
whichever's,
Okay.
yeah. There you go.
I just want to clarify, when
Yes,
you
ma'am.
say consistent with Biltmore Park, are we suggesting red brick? Because most of Biltmore Park is red brick, or are we just suggesting?
I'm suggesting brick. I thought they had some different, I thought they had a range. I thought they had some brown brick in there too, but I
They
could be.
may,
I mean, even a gray brick, the color of this.
A beige or
Yeah,
a brown is what I need. A red is gonna argue with the yellow and the blue.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have red brick in my head.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Beige or brown would be acceptable. Anything in that range.
I think gray or black could also work.
I was thinking down by the theater, there were some pieces like at, what's the restaurant right there? That they had some brown.
131 Main,
That's a good question. Does it have to be brick? Could it be CMU?
or like what they have there, so it's like a stone. or
Yeah,
something.
I'm good with, honestly,
Well,
I'm.
that's actually EFS.
Oh, it is.
If that's Greensboro, Georgia, then that's ours.
No, that's Greensboro, North Carolina.
Ah, okay. They do look similar. That one right there is, that's straight prototype right there.
Yeah, that's a nice brown. Yeah, there's a couple of different shades of brown,
Mhm.
at, is that Shook Kelly? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, there's different shades of, I was thinking more of the browns. Thank you for clarifying that, like that one. Yeah, all along. I thought like at Luella's and everything, that's more of a brown brick.
Mhm.
Okay. But I'm not wet, you don't have to go over to Biltmore Park for any reason, and like hold up a shade. It's just, we're just bringing that in as a recommendation. I hope Lee's watching this.
But a beige or a brown brick.
Yes, sir. Or, I mean, we could,
Gray, black, I think there's.
yeah, any of those.
Black is a little bit heavy in a clash with the brown.
Well, because you're trying to really make that, the true corner piece really pop, right? And so if
That
we-
that one we want to pop and be different, and black, there's very few choices in the black brick. And I think the brown actually would give it a better
Agreed.
differential and actually allow the brick to have its own plane to be recognized as brick.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other, so we encouraged like some,
I have some comments,
Yeah.
other than architectural comments. Thank you.
it's still design.
Okay, so maybe you could pull up L3 in the landscape plans, but I want to refer to that photo also in a second.
Is that the one with the plans or?
That's landscape, so.
It may not be.
Yeah, he's on deck. We're not gonna grill you over landscape.
The updated one, yeah.
Yep, L3 should be this one.
So I love this because the building is like a third of the project on the site plan. And so I wanted to talk about all the other spaces, and I realized that it's parking, of course, for hotel, and there's a minimum requirement. But the majority of the site is gonna be asphalt, and so wondering if there's an opportunity to, sounded like you're on the higher end of the parking, allotment, so if there was a way to maybe incorporate one more planting island, and the plants that are in the parking lot, could we prioritize large shade trees as opposed to some of like the smaller understory trees, just to help with the urban heat island, and just, it's gonna be really hot. If you go to that photo of the Greensboro project, on the tab to the right there, or the left for you. That, I mean, that looks, I don't want it to look like that.
Sure,
And
yeah.
so, and you see that really small tree?
Yeah,
That's like an understory tree. So I think that those would be great where you have them located around the entrances or like key pedestrian spots, but the parking lot will really benefit from having some very large trees, I
If you
think.
go back to the landscape plan, so like there's a central island that's adjacent to the ADA. And if, I don't know, yeah, thank you. One of those two little trees, if that could be the big tree.
Well, I think those are proposed large shade trees.
Well, they
Are
don't
all
have
the
enough,
green
you don't
ones
have,
are
you don't have the soil volume for a decent root structure. They're never gonna grow there.
I don't agree with that. There are huge trees growing in cities all over the place that do very well. And
If we did
the
the,
species is selected properly, they
and we
will-
do the soil thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing,
Just
hearing
that-
Vadilla's whole landscape thing in my head right now.
I love it. I love it.
I've got root volumes in my head.
So I would just love to see more shade, more vegetation. We talked a lot about the pedestrian experience around the building, but a lot of the pedestrian experience is going to be getting from your car to the building.
absolutely, yeah.
And so just wondering if there's a way to enhance that. And one way I think that it could happen is, in addition to another island, but upsizing those trees from a 15-gallon. A 15-gallon shade tree is like pretty puny, and it'll take a very long time for it to actually create shade.
Sure.
And so maybe through like, the soil volume and making sure that we create a planting space that can support a larger tree, I think would really benefit the hotel on day one and just give us a head start.
Sure.
I think that would be really helpful. And then, it looks like in some of the islands, there's sod proposed under the trees. I saw a lot of plants in the preliminary plant list, but it's hard to know what is actually proposed on the plan. And I understand this may not be worked out yet, but it would be good to know what species you are recommending and where they're going. I wouldn't recommend sod in those planting islands. That's maintenance, and
Yeah.
then it's just going to get walked on. But if there's an opportunity to incorporate a little bit more robust underplanting, whether that's a vigorous ground cover or a shrub that maybe spreads to help cover ground so you don't have to maintain those spaces, and also keeps people out of them, and also helps to cool that whole space,
Sure.
I think could be helpful. Let me see here. And then the screening around the maintenance and the dumpster area, I hate having to talk about that stuff, but this is like what we're supposed to do. Right now, it looks like there's some small evergreen shrubs. I wonder around the maintenance entrance, that might have enough space for one large evergreen tree, like some sort of holly or something, that could solve that screening and also, again, provide a little bit more scale to this building. And the same around the dumpster, if there's a way to add something of a little bit more size. I don't think those small evergreen shrubs or the yellow shrubs will do the trick. And then the other comment about the parking lot is because it is such a big part of the site, and producing a lot of stormwater runoff, if there was any appetite for exploring some sort of stormwater management in those parking islands to, have curb cuts into some sort of like rain garden or, just a way for the water to pass through and have an opportunity to infiltrate before then it gets passed then into
Sure.
traditional stormwater.
Mm.
That would be great to see. That's something that we're looking for across Asheville now, are examples of that.
Sure,
And I think this is a good opportunity. Even if it's not significant, I think it's the first step in demonstrating that where these sort of solutions belong, and this is a great example of that.
Sure, yeah, a gesture in that direction at the very least, I think would be
Yeah, but-
something we could certainly,
But a gesture, but also performative too.
Sure,
actually
yeah,
doing
yeah.
something.
yeah, that makes sense. So we have our landscape architect's not able to be here, unfortunately, because I know that he would love to be able to address your questions more directly. But I know that he is very resourceful, and I think I'm confident in his ability to accommodate most, if not every single thing that you've requested. I will say, though, with the layout and adding another island, that's going to be very challenging. We have been working very closely with Chris Cairns to determine kind of how to achieve the parking number that Hilton is going to need for us to hit, and we have it all laid out very particularly. We can revisit and squeeze it and see where we can fit more, absolutely. I just don't know. It will be very, very challenging to add another island. So
Okay.
we will attempt to do that, most definitely.
Great, and then I understand that, and so all the more reason to maybe elevate what we are able to do then in terms of the existing islands. And one of the things that we are looking for from hotels is to go beyond the minimum standard. And so that has to do with, the size of the plant material, the amount of plant material, the type of plant material. And so maybe you could just communicate to the landscape architect, her or him, that, not to be bound by that requirement, because
Sure.
we're looking for more for hotel
Absolutely,
projects.
absolutely, that makes
Soil
perfect sense.
volume suspended paving systems.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got a question. What is the plan for the paved area next to the dumpster? Because it's not striped for parking. Is it just missing striping then?
The paved area.
It's a connection to the
Yes.
adjacent parcel, right?
Yes, that's an existing access that'll take you to like the Waffle House parking lot and that area. So.
Okay.
Did you foresee any, so the UDO requirement, I'm a little, okay, that's sod, that's why I can't read it. So the UDO requirement for the width of the sidewalk, the 8 and the 10, do you foresee any issues in accommodating that requirement and still getting your street trees in?
That will.
Because you got a 3 and a 5 now.
So we have
So
3
that's-
and, it's 7.5 is what we have right now. That matches existing on Long Shoals. So widening the sidewalk would not pose as much a problem as adding that extra 5 feet. So we could, I think we could make that work if that's something that we want to see. I've been speaking with Clay Mitchell, and we've been talking about what should we do here? What makes sense? And as you travel up Long Shoals, there are a whole lot of new developments, apartment complexes, and retirement facilities and stuff like that have matched that 7.5, that kind of existing layout for the sidewalk.
When you say 7.5, that's 7.5 of the sidewalk with a 3-foot strip?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And our hope, intention, or our goal would be to match that as we pass through. I understand we're in a different
So, but
overlay.
it's the hotel
Yeah.
overlay that has the 8 and the 10.
That's where it's tricky. Clay kind of talked to me, I brought it to a few other folks to kind of make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
'Cause, it makes sense from a design point. The hotel overlay does require that 10 and 8 though, so there's not a lot of flexibility, or really any flexibility we can get from a staff side.
Well, in light
So-
of that, then we'll figure that out.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, basically, it's gonna take 5 feet away, more or less. If you've got, 4.5 or so feet away, I don't know, I can't do math in my head. It's gonna reduce the amount, that you have between the edge of sidewalk and the planting, the sidewalk for the hotel to plant those 2 trees, right? If I'm reading things correctly.
Yes.
But they'll still fit, it'll be okay. All right. Okay.
In the staff report, there's some talk about signage. It says that identification signage is shown attached to the upper portion of the building and should be creative and balanced with the architectural features of the building and should not dominate the facade. Colors should complement and be compatible with the building materials. The use of internally illuminated panels is discouraged. Are these internally illuminated panels?
Usually they're internally illuminated. However, the sign company is going to develop it based on the requirements of Asheville. So they have to submit their own sign package that works with the building and with the requirements of Asheville at the same time. So that'll be, if there's requirements that are different from what is prototypical, they'll go with the City of Asheville's requirements.
Any other questions or comments?
The only other thing in the staff report, I'm just trying to make sure we talk about all this stuff in the staff report, the EV chargers, and then the facade facing the street. Does everybody feel that it has enough fenestrations?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
The facade facing the street,
Let's see.
trying to get back to that spot now. Blank walls, facades visible from a public way should avoid use of blank walls or uninterrupted walls and should be punctuated with fenestration. I think the main point in the staff report is that the change in paint or the use of the same material used in a different pattern does not constitute a substantial material change. This is just from the staff report. We may feel that it's fine. I just want to make sure we hit it.
I think it's a little light on fenestration, but we kind of looked at that. In that rendering, I think you're not seeing the full width of the glazing strip that rises up from that recessed entry. And the room layouts on that corner towards the right. The windows could turn the corner in that room, but that kind of conflicts with that whole black wedge thing, so.
Could add more windows on the stairwell. That was a thing. You know, if we don't feel like there's enough fenestration, the far side is, the far end of that facade is the stairwell, which already has windows.
You see what we're getting at?
I see what you're getting at. The windows are, we try and keep them away from other windows and other sections of the building. And those are actually as remote as you can make those windows from any other portion of the building. Fire marshal doesn't like to have holes in his stairway.
I'm guessing that you also have headboards, like built-in headboards, that would limit the fenestration on the,
Room side.
on the
Yeah,
rooms.
typically, a hotel guest room will have, the TV wall and the headboard wall are not conducive to adding an additional
Right.
window to that same wall.
Well, there's a bathroom, stack of bathrooms closest to the vertical strip, but those would only be small windows. I mean, that's one way to do it, is to park a small high window in all the bathrooms.
And maybe by requesting the masonry change on the first floor, we're meeting some of that material change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already got glass.
Yeah, I don't see any point in adding a window just to add a window.
No, I don't think so. Okay. Run through my conditions, so I can do this halfway reasonably here. Shoot, I lost the staff report. So I've got, utilize a brown or a beige brick around the first floor of the building with a high-quality material that's currently shown as the yellow material of metal, cement fiber, or stone or similar material at the front. That the brow along the Long Shoals elevation extends 2 feet past the main facade.
2 feet past the farthest wall.
The farthest, yeah, the main facade, going once, going twice. That the applicant utilize large caliper tree specimens for their tree and planting materials. Avoid sod under the canopy trees and utilize in the parking lot area. That the applicant explore stormwater quality and quantity control measures in the tree islands. And
Larger plant material for screening areas.
larger plant material for screening areas, thank you.
And with the sod piece, sorry, avoid sod or replace sod in the planting islands with some other plant material. They can decide if they want to use grasses or shrubs. But not just mulch.
Okay.
And we support staff EDO interpretations of the street sidewalk and planting strip.
All right. Think I'm ready. So we'll,
Before we vote or go through that, do we want to open up for?
oh, public, I'm sorry.
Um,
Thank you, Christine.
do we have any?
You're the boss.
Do we have any public comment at this time? Anything online?
We did not receive any written comment ahead of time, and we'll accept it in person now, so.
Okay, so closed for public comment at 1:33.
Cool. I move to recommend approval of the True Hotel project as presented based on the site plans, elevations, and materials submitted and discussions heard during this review. Finding that the project meets the intent of the hotel design guidelines, subject to the following conditions. One, that the applicant revise the material of the first floor of the building to a brown or beige brick. Two, that the applicant revise the current yellow ephes material at the front entry to a corresponding yellow material of stone, cement fiber, metal panel, or similar high quality. As discussed, material, that the three, that the applicant, lost my numbering, extend the brow of the blue canopy 2 feet past the facade on the Long Shoals at the farthest point of that facade. Is that good, Ricardo? Something like that. For, I think, that the applicant utilize, do we want to give a caliper recommendation on the specimen trees?
Sure. Well, I would say ornamental trees to go up to 15 gallon. And for deciduous shade trees, I would say 3-inch caliber minimum.
3-inch 3-inch caliper. Thank you. Whatever the next number is, that the applicant utilize larger plant material around the screening.
Screening areas, maintenance, and dumpster.
That the applicant replace the sod currently shown in the tree islands with a suitable plant material. That the applicant explore stormwater quality and quantity control measures in the tree islands. And that.
Or other areas on site.
Or other areas on site, thank you. And finally, that we support the revisions to the sidewalk in accordance with the UDO.
I'm gonna add one more to that, the applicant highlight the entrance, the actual formal entrance a little bit more. How you do it, it's up to you. You know, the suggestion on the blue is one way, but just to highlight that a little bit more.
Thank you. Okay. That's a friendly amendment, and I accept.
Do we have a motion?
I have a motion.
That was the
That was the
motion. Is it?
motion. I second.
Okay, second, excuse me, yeah. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you.
And thank you for your willingness to work
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your comments, and we appreciate it, and I've enjoyed the several ones we've done in Asheville already, so we hope to continue.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's no other comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wow. So moved.